Welcome to the Executive Lounge. I'm Inshira Ado, and as always, we bring you a conversation that will inspire you. It's usually from the lives and work of men and women who are scaling the daunting heights of starting, managing, or growing their own businesses or institutions around the world and here at home. My guest today is a chef by training and profession, and she is the head honcho at Chapter 1 restaurant located at Villa Monticello, where we've been filming all these wonderful episodes of the Executive Lounge. Chef Ruby Paintsil. You're welcome to the Executive Lounge.
Thank you very much.
You're not just passionate about food, you're passionate about life and people. But let's start off with how you ended up becoming a chef. I mean, you could have been an astronaut or...
I could have been anything.
Yes.
I actually started off as an accountant.
Wow. Now that's interesting.
I even went as far as doing my CIMA. So I really was interested in business, but food for me has been my passion for life. I think I grew up in a home, I grew up with my grandmother, in a home where food was just the comfort, it was the celebration thing. I remember being quite little and my grandmother making toast on the crock pot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Toast?
Toast
on a crock pot.
She used to make things like pineapple jam. And,
wow.
And we have this with, back in the days, you know, those times, I think the hot chocolate or the Milo, it wasn't Milo the brand, but it was this chocolate that was, if I remember, it had a very authentic taste. Mm-hmm. And we were following that. I mean, she was the king's wife. So growing up with my granddad, my grandmother there, you know, as a kid, you just were happy. But I feel like I was given such opportunity as a young age, you know, even when they knew my passion and I love food, you know, I was bought the toys to, you know, play with, the little pans they make out of the milk tins mm-hmm. and things like that. So I was always, people were like, oh, your grandma spoils you too much, your grandma spoils too much. But actually, when I look back now that I'm also a family woman, I realized she was very encouraging, very encouraging. So I was given that opportunity to be able to dream, to test it out and things. So my passion drove from that early stage from my family home. And then I'm always quite a curious person. You know, when it came to food, you know, I was always interested in why did this make this and all that. But as a young child, so I was so smart. So I was getting A. So, I mean, why do you want to cook when we can make you some sort of scientist and everything else? You know, I was getting good grades at school. But whenever it came, I remember even in schools, home economics, it was like tops all the time. But I was good at maths, good at English. So with time, you sort of take it along. When I started secondary school in UK, always liked food. I remember my first job, you know, I was just in school doing my part-time job. And then one day, I think with the cook where I was working wasn't there. I went to the kitchen to cook, and then the matron there was like, wow, for a young 16-year-old or whatever, you can cook like this. You really should pursue a career in hospitality. I think that was the first time. I mean, previous to that, my dad has always wanted me to do the sciences. So even at that time, I was studying economics, I was studying physics, chemistry, English language and all that. And then I was doing accounting and economics and things like that. So to balance it out, I actually started my chefing qualifications part-time.
Wow.
When I was doing my work. So when I got to, I think 2 years down the road, I just decided that this was for me. I remember going to tell my father about it, my dad. I'm like, oh, I really want to do this hospitality and everything. And he just looked at me and goes, if you wanted to do this long time, why didn't you say it? So I felt like because he was an engineer by trade, that, you know, you want to be like, you know, in that field of your dad. And he was like, I'm not really fast, as long as you do well. And I think when I started doing hospitality, my grades was fantastic. I was just coming home, anything we will learn. I think my family has been guinea pigs for my cooking for a long time.
Thank God they're still around to tell the story.
Literally, you know, wow. We are typical Ghanaian Shanti family in London. And then I come home and I'm like, we're going to have a salad with grapes and celery. And my mum will be like, why? why? We don't want to eat anything there will be like you don't want that. But my dad, he's so curious with things like that. I feel like he went on a journey with me, and you know, so I started studying. Then I will be working part-time in the industry. I think earlier in my career I was given great advice, so I started joining the bodies that really make a difference in hospitality industry. And I got myself involved with whether it's a board of this, whether it's a body of this, and then also working, and had 3 or 4 goals of my studies at the same time. And it worked out for me. I entered a lot of competition, did very well. So I went in there to really make sure that you know, something comes out of me. I didn't sort of just, oh, I'm just going to cook. I wanted people to know that I can cook, and I want to do things with food in a way, because I got the connection with food very early. I think it's such an emotional thing. Food is the only thing, you know, someone can be very hungry and very angry, and they get great food and the mood change. You see what I mean? And you know, you can be hungry and moody. If I put clothes on you, that's not going to make any difference. But I can sit there and almost talk to your soul with food. And that is what fascinates me, you know. Even when you have friends and you get them into your home and you cook something over the meal, how you can talk to people, how people open up about things. And that is that emotional connect that I like. I love that servicing of people, just servicing them, looking after them, making sure that they're important. And I think until you get that moment, a time to sit with someone with a meal, and you have that time, it's such a great feeling, you know. And that's why all the family moments and great ones happens around the table. Right. You know, when you're having a great time with your friends, 9 out of 10, there'll be some sort of drink, there'll be some sort of food around. It's always some sort of center
that you kind of congregate around this and have a shared experience. You know,
people, I mean, at the moment people are debating about jollof this and all that, and it's a heated thing for people because it's like, I grew up with this, and also we're nurtured with food, you know. Some of the habits that we're going to grow up and pick up in our life, it nurtures from the way we are fed, the taste that we have. You know, science and, you know, research have shown that all habits that we pick up in our adulthood, the ones that we can't seem to get over, it forms in our head by the age of 5, you know, how we do food. So if I've got a sweet tooth, because when I was a very little, I keep eating sweets and I'm addicted to it, I'm going to struggle with that in my early adolescence, really, because that's something that I was brought up. It becomes a part of you and all that. And people have such a strange relationship with food. Some people, doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it nurtures us, isn't it? It's the nutrients. You can't really live without some sort of food and everything else. So I like the actual food as a subject. You know, if there is a subject, that I like it as a subject, but I also like how it makes people feel. That's the emotional side of it. I also like that. Right.
So how did you feel about the acceptance that you got from your father when you broke the news to him? And then he says, but you could have told me this all along.
I mean, for those people that know who my father is, and I talk about my father all the time, I think people are even bored of it. He was such a great man, and he is was so much into us as his children. And actually, until recently when he passed away, I'm sure all my siblings and I, we all feel that we each individual can claim we were his favorite. And it made me realize that how important that he made us feel like how special we are. And then also not just us, I saw how he has become very helpful to other people in the community. So people will witness and say things about him that was incredible. Things that I didn't even know that he was able to help. And also teaches you the journey that, you know, like the same things that our kids maybe will find out about us. Pre their time, they had a life, you know. And during the time they go to school and they leave us in the home, we also have a life. So he was quite a part of my life. And he was such a great person that, you know, you talk to him all the time. You want to impress him. You want to do well by him. He's the type that, you know, you go to the house, he's got a bowl and your hands are in it. Actually, if you like, oh, give me a little bit, it will be weird in our house. You just dig in and you eat with him. You know, he will call you even as adults. He'll be like, oh, I went out and I bought 4 pineapple. Come and pick up your. Bear in mind the drive is about an hour.
You just go grab a couple of pineapples.
You know, and stuff. So it was important. I suppose at that time I wanted his approval, really and truly. And what he was saying to me is, you know what, as long as you're passionate about it and you're going to do something with yourself, I'm going to support you. And that support, maybe as a child, I was a bit scared, like, oh, you know, maybe I would disappoint because I didn't become a science. But I wasn't at all. I wasn't at all. I mean, oddly enough, I ended up doing food science. You know, so the science, it came through for both of us.
That's right.
Anyway.
So, you know, you kept talking about how food itself nurtures people, and food is made by people. And it stirs up emotions that are in people. People are central to this.
Yes.
And it kind of mirrors the image you painted of your upbringing, that there were lots of people around the house. Your grandmother, you know, made time to encourage you and your siblings and everybody around. Your career, in the period that you've been working, especially as a chef, you'd have lots of different people walking in and out of the kitchen. Yes. What are some of the interesting traits that you've seen in people?
Yeah. So I say my career in 2 parts. In abroad, where I was trained, and also I was trained at home and obviously in a professional field. What I noticed is that really if you want to be in hospitality, hospitality is an industry where it's a lot of mentoring, a lot of coaching. A lot of our people that work for us are visual learners, so you show them something, they see it, they look at it, they're creative people. So what happens in my early training is like, you know, you train to train the trainer. So the whole idea is there's no point if you have learned something that you don't pass it on. It's a very much a strong team-spirited industry. You know, if we sit in the office and work and an email comes in, it comes to my computer, you know what, if I don't really answer that email right now, it's not going to spoil something. But actually with meals and stuff, something be made and sitting there within even 1 minute, not taking it, be either cold or it won't be presented well. I find young people abroad is being exposed, that nobody is scared to expose more information to them, more skills. It's like you are inundated with more to do and learn. Every day you're learning something. But when I started chapter 1 in Villa Monticello in Ghana, and obviously that style of cooking, at the time I came here, it didn't really exist in the industry I came to meet it at. And it was something new we're doing. So I came to meet a team that when really their skill set wasn't. And then we started to interview quite a lot of people and different people. But what I gathered when I got here is people in the industry, the kids I sort of met here, were really down, like they weren't encouraged. Self-confidence wasn't there at all. Not even just the fact that I don't know something. They were almost like they were scared to voice out anything. If they make mistake, the amount of way they would go to apologize was a bit unhygienic. Then it got me to think, wow, what has been happening here, you know, because we're very much quick to just want to shout at people. We're very much quick to want to put them down. But we ourselves don't have the solution to be able to sort of push them to that point. Right. So the people have come abroad where people have patience, being able to instill knowledge into people, convert to here, compared to here, is like, I don't have the knowledge, but I know that this is not what I want, so I'm just going to be very abusive or really shouting. And when you get people like that, you can't get through them. I find young people here that I've met where it's almost like sometimes when you are even telling them story to inspire them about their dreams, it's almost like, oh, we're not even allowed to have that kind of dream because, you know, we come from a certain background and all that. And that I find sad because if dreams are only now literally distributed between those that can dream and those that can't, then we have a problem, really and truly.
So with this realization, observation, what have you done differently with some of the people that you've worked with that you can see has made the kind of impact that you're hoping for?
For me, part of the reason moving back to Ghana was always to give back. I've had a pleasure of also working in places like Thames Valley University as a lecturer. So I have seen also how younger people over there with even less skills than the ones I've come to see have become great. And so I can see within them that it can work and they can become great. So I've started using the same techniques here. One is to win them over, to make sure that there is somebody that is going to be backing them, that will support them, even if their families weren't seeing it that way. And then also to take time to really, one is mentor. So if you work at chapter one is you do get one-to-one. You will probably end up in 3 meetings in a week. One of them will be your own team, where you can voice out what is bothered you or what is not bothered you. The other one will be on more of your training. Here, what I'm doing for my chefs here is that we registered them on an international qualification, MVQ, and we actually go to school here. So if you work here in chapter 1, you go to school. Actually, if you work at Villa Monticello, there's a bit lesson and a school for you. And not just a school like I'm just going to sit there and preach with you. We actually sit there and do the work that is going to get them to pass this MVQ level 1s and 2, which is the same qualifications I started with. The same that Gordon Ramsay started with, the same as Aberu and all the other people started with. Because what I also found in the industry is, I remember I met some people when I came here in my team that were in some sort of schools here. And when you ask them, they went to school the same day and they were like, what did you learn? They'd be like, I learned coleslaw. I'm like, well, how is it coleslaw? Something you go to learn. So one is they're not teaching the techniques to how to do things properly, rather just the recipe, this is how you do it. But I want to teach people the technique to make a bread. And when I teach you the technique properly, you can make any type of bread you want. Banana bread, potato bread, plantain bread. So it's like people have the skill, but they don't want to open up to train people properly. And I'm saying, I want to train people properly. I want to teach you techniques. I want to teach you methods. I want to teach you the science behind what you're doing. I want you to think about what you're doing. And we're doing a local content for people to understand, you know, what it is that they're doing. So we know that if we're making kenkey, and how do we get to cook it? It's not the water that we put in the pan to, you know, to put the kenkey in that cooker. It's the steam. It's stuff like that. That's the science behind it. So we bring a lot of that in our classes upstairs in the terrace. And we are really enjoying it. Just even the art of what the kitchen is designed for. Why do we need certain equipment and stuff like that? So I've just decided to just invest in them well, because I feel like one is you're not getting the support. No one's willing to open up and train you. But if you make a mistake, God forbid, you are crucified, literally crucified for that mistake, for something you knew nothing about, literally. And I think even those people that are managing people that way, it's tiring. So I think if you can even just get them to be trained properly, at least then you can be talking to them on a professional level and said, you're trained properly. So now I can actually talk to you, because when this mistake has happened, you know from your training, this is what you should have done. So that's my approach to it, and really just investing in my young people, mentoring them. We have programs here, The Lady, which is all about young ladies and their journey into their careers, what we can do with them in terms of whether when they go to interview, how they present themselves, how they start to think about their wealth, how to build it, their spirituality, their appearance, their beauty, the image that they want to protect, even how they conduct themselves when they're outside in people, because the world is extremely judgmental, you know. And if you are somewhere and you're not eating properly, you're not even holding properly, you're not holding your conversation properly, is sort of judged against you. So we take that privilege in really making sure that these young people have got insights, and we have had a lot of people come to talk to them. We have had a lot of top women CEOs, names plenty, have come and actually spoke to them. One of the ones that they came, Miss Rosalind Kenya, who is knighted by the Queen, Dane, I think it's a Dane by the Queen. So she is inspiration for young people. She came to talk to some of the ladies people, and I think it's great for them to see people that are on top of their game, doing well in life, and say that, you know what, this dream is not just this cut for me. I can also dream and want to do something, be entrepreneur if I want to be. I mean, yesterday I read a fantastic article by a lady who's building the biggest solar thing at the north. I was blown by her, you know, and that's the thing. And she wants to also do things for people to realize that, you know, and you can have these dreams and you don't have to be struck down. It's not just for certain family and their friends and their membership. You know, we can all do it in order to really build Ghana, our nation, and stuff.
I could feel the passion to give back and impact on the next generation. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I would like to explore your thoughts on the raw material. When the people are coming in, what are they coming in with? How do we change that so that the process of transformation is faster, far more efficient, and we can guarantee good success at the end?
Sounds great.
Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshirado, and my guest is Chef Ruby Paintsil of Chapter 1 restaurant at Villa Monticello. You talked about how sometimes the people who come through seem to think that dreaming is the preserve of certain kinds of people or certain social standing. What are the things that you're finding in the raw material that comes in that you work on, the people?
The people. So some of the things that I've noticed, and within the time I've been here within my circles, I will have young people come in. It's either one, they challenge academically, so the basic standard of writing doesn't exist. Then the other bit is I can have someone who really writes fantastic, but then can't really make sense of anything. So I can actually put some words down quite nicely. But when it comes to things that I maybe need my common sense, no, I don't want to ask questions. I want to be told what to do all the time. So if you present a particular situation where people, you brief them, take you on and go and do what you need to do, they forever need reassurance, you know. So you get into a meeting with them and then afterwards it's like, oh, you think you have discussed everything, people come to you and say, what should I do? Should I do this and all that? No confidence in their own decision at all. And I believe that these things, because we have all had a bit of a Ghana education, and that's what happened. This idea that we don't get freely that kind of, you can ask questions and, you know, challenge and all those, be challenged as well. So basically people are like, you know, this is what you're told to do, this is how you do it. So there's not enough being sort of with the teachers and all that. Let me ask a question, let me answer back, and that debate. So you end up with quite timid people that really cannot think for themselves. A lot of chew and pour. So I've studied the thing, but if I actually bring it to what is on paper onto the workplace, I have no idea how to sort of execute it. I found people in terms of when you find front-facing customer service, it's literally, I've always grew up in a family where, you know, we were like, Ghanaians, we don't do that. Ghanaians, you know, you are a Ghanaian, you respect yourself, you're a Ghanaian, you talk a certain way. Now, I don't know whether it's a language barrier or something. Even our mannerism is sort of wrong. The young people that comes in my team, people are more, when you get them, they're more interested in how they look and how they dress. So the work is really for quickly, so I can buy something nice for myself, go and do my nails, my hair is sort of plenty. And so that worries me. So you end up with young people sort of like, you know, I'll do anything. It's like a quick, short period. But there is the other side of young people that I meet who just want something to be permanent, something to be solid. They have responsibility. I've met so many young people that at very young age, their parents are passed on. They've got responsibility of siblings. And they, you know, my brother is sick, I need to do something. I have a sibling here who need my financial help. So they need that space where they can have a career, something solid that they can depend on all the time. And yet we don't have that sort of patience and skill set to be able to train them on that. I've talked to quite a lot of the top chefs, some of them in Ghana here, And the challenges they're also having is we run a lot of these high places by a lot of foreigners coming to sort of take over, which I do not mind. I was a product of that. I was living in UK. I was brought here to do that. But what I think that when you then come in, that you're able to give back. You're able to be able to train the next person so that we don't keep the same establishment, don't keep going back and forward to get the same people. What is the point? The hospitality industry in Ghana is growing. And it's fantastic. We're all feeling it. So that means that everybody needs to sit up and pay attention and offer the service that people need, because people now have got choice. But because it's bespoke on us for such a short period and it's coming in fast, the skill set is not here. So what happens is, as soon as one hotel opens, it goes and nick another, all the stuff from the other one. And then those staff, even from the other staff place, is not so perfect. So we're using the same stuff all around instead of us taking time to really train people. And I believe it's because when people get in, like my level, instead of them concentrating to train more people so that they can filter the industry, it's literally like, I'm here, do what I've got to do, and these people are not delivering, so I'm just not going to bother. But bear in mind, the things that this type of food that Ghanaians are eating now is not how we used to eat. You see what I mean? So it's a new thing for us. So it will take time for people to get it.
Right.
You know, this fried rice thing, it started quite recently. You know what I mean? These burgers, the steak, the potatoes, you know, the croquettes or the foam, this and all that are very new to us. And I just don't feel that the industry is prepared enough to be able to accommodate. Because now, it's not just good enough that you just go and do yours. Before, you know, Sunday, Mutu, you were good.
Yeah.
You weren't craving for no rakalam, no steak. It was good enough for you. Now, we also have a society where it's very much diverse. Lots of different people are in Ghana now, from different places. They love our food, but they also are bringing a little bit of their influence in it. We also like their food, you know, and then that happens as well. So it needs to be a good balance. And I think we Ghanaians need to be extremely careful that we do not create a very profitable, very growing industry for other people to just enjoy.
It's interesting you say that, and I look back, I mean, for the typical special treat, is like going to the Connaught rooms in, you know, Southwest London to go and eat dinner, you know, cooked by a celebrity chef, or going out to have fine dining. And people think that fine dining is the preserve of only the wealthy. How important is that to the evolution of a people's culture? And must it always be expensive?
No, I don't necessarily think fine dining is expensive. I would look at it as value for money. I think fine dining is more of a lifestyle than more of, if I'm wealthy, then I have fine dining. I think there's a lot of wealthy people in Ghana, and fine dining will not do for them because they don't even understand it. I think that is a certain type. It's like someone who likes wine. Not everybody like wine is rich or famous or something like that. I think it's an area that people are interested in. I think for chapter 1, the menu that I have created is purely without ingredients. It is done in a style that's very modern, a bit of a British style, a bit of Asian style, a bit of fusions from France, and our own food. So if you look at it, for example, like palava sauce, which is one of my favorite dishes ever. I mean, I can eat it all the time. But I don't think it have to be so unhealthy. The greens are fantastic for you. So we have created one where we have used a smoked tuna. We use a fillet of beef where it's more leaner, a bit of olive oil, not too much, and concentrate more on the green. And we still do yam. Yam is fantastic superfood. It is the only food that is got that sweetness to it. The sugar does not stay in your system. It passes through it, and it's a happy food. It's like sweet potatoes. So we do all those things here. We have used snails, and we use egusi. We've made a bit of risotto, because I think also, like I said, you can be a bit playful with food. We are in a world where it's extremely global now. I can be here and I know exactly what's happening in China. So people are more connected to us than they have ever been connected to us. And I think it is great for them to see that we can do things in some of their style, and also they can do some of the things in our style. So is that playful where we want, because it's like you got a guest coming into your home, and all the people that comes into this country are guests of ours, and we want them to feel welcome. We want it, you come and experience what is in your home. But before you come, I'm also going to show you that I've got something of yours because I'm thinking of you. And that's how I want to use food to introduce people to Ghana. So when people come in, and we have a lot of people come to Chapter 1 in Villa Monticello, and they're like, wow, is this Ghana? They are blown because of what we have shown them. Yes, it is not all of Ghana, but this is a part of Ghana. You know, and then therefore I can show them that side. I can show them where the markets are. I can show them our difficulties. I can show them things that we're celebrating about. So there's a balance. So the person can have a balanced view of this Ghana. And it's been told by me, a Ghanaian, my own story. Because most of the time when we sit here and other people are telling our story, how this place is, it's never really how it's supposed to be.
Right.
You know, it's not from the Ghanaian's perspective. And I want people to come to Ghana knowing that there's great stuff in Ghana, especially for young people, especially people outside. I want them to come back home, because if they come back home and do these great things, then this place will be even more wonderful. Because sometimes you speak to friends and the things that they're worried about is, oh, if I can, what about the internet? I'm thinking to myself, seriously? You want to come to your own country where you were born, or your parents, your ancestors are here, and all you worry about is if the internet will work, functionality, you know, maybe the road, things that they're worried about. But I do feel like if you want that person, what my message to you, if you want that internet to work, go there and make sure it does. Go there and make sure it does, literally. Because Ghana has everything, everything. We have it beyond ourselves. We have the best land to grow things. We have the most amazing people. We have the great culture. Fashion, we're blowing up in the world. What don't we have? All we need is for our people to believe in that dream and come back and make it great. Because I honestly think that if we stop believing in the illusion that elsewhere is better and home is somehow worse, and that's that situation where people get up from here and they decide that this place is that worse, that I'm going to go outside. But you and me are here when we're seeing people crossing seas and dying. And we were here when we see how the immigrations are not favoring our people and things like that. And sometimes people waste all this money. And you know that if they have even put that money down as capital, gradual, because the West and the Europes and the other thing, they have a great way to tell themselves. And they're a great place. But sometimes I don't think they're always great for all of us, literally.
Great thoughts. Let's zero in on hospitality as a tool to sell our country. You said particularly that you do stuff that are fusion, hints of different cultures, but the ingredients are local.
Local.
The food grown right here in Ghana.
Yes.
And how do we harness that on a global scale? I mean, people have to come to Villa Monticello to experience that. But, I mean, so beyond the jollof wars, what else can we make popular to the world? I
think every Ghanaian food can be made popular. You know, I think the jollof is not necessarily our national food. And I'm
it
sure
isn't. We're already from Senegal.
It's from Senegal and things. But I do think that, you know, one of the things that is fantastic here is yam. You know, I remember when I was in London, people from all over will buy this yam. We have sweet potatoes that taste this amazing. Ghana pineapple, it's like you do not know whether they put sugar on the floor before they grow this thing. It's amazing. I think one of the things with our pineapple, it should be one of our national things that people are known by. Our groundnuts is out of this world. The coconut water. I mean, I was in London recently, and I went into one of these quite top-end shop, Master Spencer's, and it's like coconut is packaged so well that now people can actually just buy lunch and get a coconut that you could just open it like this and drink the water. And I think I'm not into the sort of the manufacturing and the export world, but if I was, the things I like to see is I think we have a gem in our pineapple, we have a gem in our yam, we have a gem in our cocoa yam, we have a gem in your shea butter. we have a gem in a plantain, and we have a gem. Most Ghanaian food are amazing, and they're very healthy, and they're natural. They are natural as well. So we can promote all those things around. I think we do amazing soups and chicken soup, goat soup and all that. And our neighboring countries and all that really like those stuff. I think the world is very much right now open-minded place. So we shouldn't be shy to sort of say, oh, you know, it's a Ghanaian food, whatever. We should go out there and present our food in a really manner. I think what people normally care for is whether that food is healthy, whether it's hygienic, and that, because I have, even when I used to live in London, I would make Ghanaian food for my friends from Eastern European, different places, and they still talk about that now. Wache, I think, should be like, we're known for wache. Literally, they will be sitting there eating it. Someone might not like goat meat, but they will have fish, which is fantastic. It's a great, you know, fiber, the beans, the fish, you know, but I think the only thing I'll say about that is we need to learn to not overcook our food. And make sure that it's not too oily, because our grandmothers and our grandfathers didn't cook like that. You know, now you get people going to make palm soup and the meat is fresh and it's the fattest part of the meat. The whole idea of the palm soup is the palm itself was very fattening. So you have it with your snails and you have it with your dry fish. It was more sort of the bush meat and it's all dry. So the fat in the soup was coming from the palm. Now,
which itself is healthy for the body.
Exactly. But however, now we've just put animal protein, animal fats and everything else in it because our taste buds is like, oh, this one put in here, this one does it, this and all that. But I also think we don't eat enough vegetables. You know, I think our neighbors across the board, Nigerians, they tend to eat a lot of vegetables and all that. It's hardly that you get, apart from sort of palava sauce, what do you call, garden eggs, that type of stew. We're not really...
Ayoyo with the tuzafi.
Yeah, we're not really, you know, we need to be, I think, a bit more experimental with that, where we can actually eat a lot. I think vegetables are not unique to just other people outside. They're grown on our soil. Sweet potatoes is here, it is fantastic. Aubergine can be grown here, carrots, green beans, a lot more of the green, so that it becomes sort of a part of us. I mean, I tend to, at home, when I'm making food for the kids nowadays, it's like always some sort of veg and all that. My kids, they love the vegetables because it's become a part of, you eat a bit of jollof, there's always some beans, some salad, and that is there as well. So I think as people, we need to learn that, to just add a bit more vegetables and beans and things like that more in our diet, instead of just solid carbs, you know, corn purely, with a little bit of protein, and then there's no veg. You're better off even eating kinky with some cabbage and shito sometimes, you know, some vegetables and shito and stuff like that. So I think that's something that we all have to try and do. And then also, when I look at Accra now, you know, we're all very much corporate people, running around. The time to even get time to sit at home and maybe cook something with the family is becoming very difficult. So we're also empowering that to our house girls and other things. And that can be quite challenging because you're now, even if what you want to eat, you don't really get, because the skill set in the person that you have entrusted in can not really do it. Because if he knows, or she or he knows how to make just jollof with lots of oil and fried meat is all they know, that's all you're going to get, you know. Whereas maybe instead of fried chicken all the time, I can have it grilled. You see what I mean? I can have it steam a bit and that. So I think our food is amazing wherever it goes. And I think it's like, I had a friend of mine, Scottish guy, and he said to me once, he said, Ghanaians are the only people he knows. No matter how rich, how successful we get, we eat the same food all the time.
Wow, that's interesting. So we have to be a little bit more experimental and try some new stuff. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll take another break and we'll come back and hit the back straight and learn some more from Chef Ruby. Stay tuned. This is the Executive Lounge, and I am Inshirado. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshirado, and my guest, Chef Ruby Paintsil of Chapter 1 Restaurant here at Villa Monticello. I never knew I could talk about food for so long and not be very hungry. Well, I tell a lie, I'm actually quite hungry. And if you have tasted Chef Ruby's food, then you know she makes really good food. You know, You sort me out later, won't you? So you said something which I just could not help but want to go back to, that there are people who worry about the little things when they are thinking about coming back home. But you made the trip back home. I've been back 13 years. Lots of people come and then they go back.
Yes, yes, a shame, really.
I mean, what do you think accounts for that, and what can we do to change that situation?
I think that is, I think definitely coming back, it is not like, it is quite daunting. It's quite daunting. If I look at my own experience, I almost sort of have to say, you know what, I'm just going to go. But I remember from day one, I said, no matter what happened, I'm not going back. So I think it's to also have the right mindset. I think what sometimes mistake that I feel people make is having one foot outside and one foot in. And this is a situation that, you know, I remember some of the challenges that when I first got to Ghana, I used to come here every year on holiday. So if people were asking me about Ghana, I felt like I was kind of championing it. I mean, I'll go to Ghana all the time. People like 4 years, 5 years, they don't go. So I felt like a bit proud. I was like, yeah, I'll go there. Sometime 9 months, I'm going there. But actually, my first 3 months of being in Accra, I realized I knew nothing. And I mean nothing, zero, nothing about Accra. I remembered even cars going to a certain way, and I'm like, it's like my whole eyes was like, wow, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about how the people are, how they think, how things are. I remember the first 3 months, it was moments I felt extremely happy, and moments I felt lonely and down. But there was something about being at home and being a part of majority.
Wow.
That was interesting to me. So it was like, even with all that you were noticed, you know, I will bump into people that know me, they know my family. So that was interesting, start to search Accra, getting to know. So I think when you first want to come back, no matter if you used to live here, almost my advice is take it as it's fresh. Okay. And really expose the country and the areas that you're coming to be. So your hometown, you start to see different, the work that you're coming to do. I never worked here as an adult before. So coming to do chapter 1 was my first sort of adult work in Ghana. And it was very different, the way that in terms of how people work, how laid back sometimes people are. And it's funny, those things you used to hate when you first came out, when people are so laid back, it's what you come to love later. I was blessed because I had a lot of wonderful people around. My sister was here. I would say something, she was like, oh, this is easy, I went through worse. So to me, the mindset is important, that you come here with a mindset that says, I want to come and stay here. Having one foot in and one foot outside is like, I know it wouldn't work out, so I'm just sort of going to go back. So you need to be quite sure. I was quite blessed when I got here. My sister was here. I had that support from her because she hasn't been here for quite some time. She was able to introduce me to some of the returning people that have come and stayed. And then you hear the stories. People have come and done amazing things, you know. I met ladies that have started school that is doing well. I met a lot of people that are CEOs on top of their games, and they all have come from abroad. That really excites me. Also, it was funny because all returnees have sort of about the same journey. One day you're sort of happy, and one day you're missing home. One day you're frustrated by the things that you see, how slow it feels like it's going. But actually you come to learn to love about some of the slowness. That's where you escape from it. But it is not an easy journey. I think people sometimes think that I'm going back home because I'm going to have a more easier life. If I used to work 40 hours, I would just do a little bit of a 30 hours or something. But you have to understand that you're coming for a new life. So actually you're going to be challenged even more. So I remember that I actually now work more hours than I ever did when I was in the UK. But I do think you see faster results because now you're actually putting in so much effort into what you want to do here. And if you want to come back home, it's because you want to be here. So prove that you want to be here. Don't give up so easily. I know that personally, anybody that wants to come home, if they contact me, I'll be more than welcome to introduce them to some of the wonderful ladies that I've met that have returned into the country. And they all have stories. My husband always says, you know, if we need something, I remember when we first came, we need something, and you'd be like, put in a returnee WhatsApp group, and you know, they were like our yellow pages, and then like there's somebody knew somebody, because the experience is collected within us. So someone like, oh, I need a watch battery, like, oh, I know this guy did this, that, and that, and that has been really helpful. That support. And I know also, like, if you're coming from outside, you've got some old school groups as well. It really does help to be able to get in contact. I didn't go to school here, but I'm still able to find some people that share my journey, that are returning like I am returning, and is going well. So, you know, don't have one little bad experience because of an unfortunate one person and use it as the whole judgment. Have an open-minded situation and really want it. And I think it's great. Ghana needs so much ideas, companies, people that can do that. And everything you come and do here, it creates employment for people. It creates, sometimes just even the experience itself is fantastic for people. And that give back, you know. And I think if we're going to go forward for this nation to get into the place where we can say, wow, you know, employment is down, a young generation has got, you know, employment, they are doing well, they're not running away from this country. Ghana spends so much money training doctors, and half of them don't end up being here. Nurses. You know, we want to a situation where the country is that great that you feel like, I'm being trained as a doctor, there is people sick here, and I want to be in my country, and that's what matters. So to me, I think it is a great place. It's not an easy journey, I'm not going to lie. It's not like you get here and you're like, whatever. Yeah. But then life is never easy.
Was there ever a time in the period that you've been back that you're like, oh, I've had enough, I want to go back?
Oh yeah, but many times.
But what kept you then? Many
times, but I think you have those moments where you're frustrated, and then you go there and you really think about it. I'm fortunate because I actually did the journey with my whole family, my husband, my kids, and we're all here. And actually, in the beginning, it was a bit like, oh, whatever. And now we both look back and we're like, actually, yeah, it was the right decision. I think you're human. You miss your friends. You miss your space. You miss, and sometimes moving back here can be quite lonely, you know, because all of a sudden, maybe you got even a great job, but you don't really know nobody, you know. It's not all of us are fortunate enough to have families in Ghana. And even then, the families in Ghana come to their own wahala. So it is a difficult journey, but I do think that there is enough things in Ghana that you can get yourself involved in to make sure that you enjoy this country. Definitely do travel in a country to make sure you go into the different places to really see the real Ghana. I mean, I had opportunity to go to Azim, and I literally love the place. Love the place. And most of the time when I get time, I like to just travel and see Ghana for what it is. I think people stay in one place for a long time. This country is extremely beautiful. And when you take opportunity to actually get to know this place, you wouldn't want to be in anywhere else. I think traveling is good. We should all travel to every places. But to me, this is home. And that's the end of it. So I would travel. I get fed up and I'm like, I just need to get away. I'll go to London for 2 weeks, do what I've got to do. By the time 2 weeks is up, I'm like, I need my bed because my bed is home. And that's what it is.
Wonderful. Really. Now, you know, we have a wonderful coastline. You talked about Exim. Tourism is touted as a really good sector for us to really look into to help, you know, speed up development and economic growth. If you had to make one recommendation how we can make tourism better than it is right now, what would it be?
To me, it would be transportation, infrastructure. Because I think that we say tourism like people should come here. But we Ghanaians are here, and sometimes it's even more difficult to be able to travel interstates. You know, we are on the buses all the time. The planes are literally just go to a certain cities and town. I think if their transportation can be better, people can really get to know. It is a small country. It is very green. It is very beautiful. But you want to get to places quicker and faster. And I think if we can have that infrastructure where the road systems are better, the train, I mean, sometimes you're in Accra, you want to go to Kumasi. I don't want to go and sit on the bus for 6 hours. Whereas if a train was there, maybe it would have been 2 hours and it would have been shorter and it'd be fantastic. You know, where in the world, the other places there's no train, when people are on undergrounds now, And we then have to be all clogged up on this Kumasi to Accra road full of accidents and stuff. It's because there's too much pressure on the road. That's what makes things like that happen. So for me, I'll start with in-house to make sure that definitely the road system and the transportation links are better for us. And most definitely a lot more CCTV cameras on the road and more policing on the road as well. So that to me would be the first thing. I think the whole of Africa needs a better connection in terms of inter-traveling, because we are here. Togo is literally just next door. You know, Nigeria is just around the corner.
Togo is not just literally next door. It's 2.5 hours from Accra.
Exactly. So, you know, you want people to be able to also, you know, travel, because sometimes we here, or the people that some of the young people I've met, when they talk about travel, it's never within this Africa. It's always, boom, let me go to Europe. Let me go to America and all that. But there we live here, in Rwanda, is in Africa. And it's one of the most beautiful countries. Wouldn't you want to go and see there first?
I would.
Literally. And before, and that's because it's not been advertised to us in a way that is attractive to us, and the transportation to get there is also not some way. So I really think that Abidjan, fantastic. It's places like that. I want to see more of Africa, and I think better communication with our politicians and our road people, then we can actually start to appreciate what we already got. Then maybe we won't be so candid eyes.
Where we want to go somewhere else.
It's fantastic, you know.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Chef Ruby, thank you so much for making time to talk to us. We have a tradition on the show where I share 5 lessons I'm taking away from this conversation. Number 1 is that you must be an encourager. And the more encouragement you give to people, the better they find themselves, and the more they're able to face life knowing that they can succeed. Number 2 is that you should take people for what they are, but you must believe in them. You must always give them something more to take away. They must come to you in their raw state, but you must look to add value. And that's what she does with her team here. She observes them, and she mentors and works with them and makes sure that they leave her better than they came. The third thing I'm taking away is that the possibilities all around us. Even though sometimes the journey has been frustrating, she's been positive about the possibilities of her sector in hospitality, tourism as a whole, and Ghana's prosperity potential as a country. And the fourth thing is that be experimental. So you see, she talked about some fusion of Asian, French, touches of different styles of cooking, but local ingredients. And the final thing I'm taking away from this is that food is good, but eat right, so you can live well. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Chef Ruby, once again.
Thank you so much.
And to the team and our friends at Villa Monticello, thank you so much. And to you, the viewers, thank you for joining us. We'll be back with more on the Executive Lounge. Go forward, make rain. Shalom.